Hi everyone, welcome back to the best moves in Go history. I am Ryan, and today we are back with Mumu laoshi, who is Mok Jin-Seok, 9-dan professional, who's always also the head coach of the Korean national team. Mumu laoshi, welcome back.
Hello, Ryan. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Well, today we will talk about some very interesting games with ladders.
All right. Actually, ladder is one of simple thing, when you learn Go. But there are many fun and interesting variation, and even in professionals game. And so today we're gonna check two matches that has really interesting variation. But there are so many other than these two games. So, and I'd like to give simple tips about ladder. It's very useful or helpful for beginner or intermediate level players. So, let's start from the simple tips first.
Let's
so, can you see the board?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you look at the board, there's a ladder shape here.
Oh, in the upper right corner.
For example, like this. Mm-hmm. So when you play, actually play a game, and especially when you're Yoyomi, like you have to play 20 seconds in 20 seconds, or you have to play one move in 30 seconds. And if something like this, when you're reading, what do you usually do? I believe almost 80% of recreational player will read, inside your head, read one move by one step by step, like 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that.
Yes.
But it takes time, isn't it? So
that's the ladder, guys. That's why it's, in English, I think that's why it's called ladder, because it kind of goes like the zigzag all the way to the other side of the board. Right.
So there's one simple tip, and it can save your time a little bit. So when you read a ladder variation, try to think this one. I'll mark this with triangle. So this white stones on lower left corner. Try to think this one is actually exactly diagonal to the tangent. I mean center start point here. So remember. This start point is actually exactly diagonal, so you don't really need to read all the variation until from beginning to until the end. So just pretend this stone is here. So try to think this stone is here.
Oh, so we can actually skip reading the whole ladder. After we reach the tangent or the center part of the board, we can already see the same thing will happen, and we will have the exact same shape when we get to the lower left corner. Oh, I didn't know that tip.
It's very simple, but it can save your time, like at least 10 seconds, or I don't know. But if you're in hurry, I mean, if you're Yoyomi, you have to play every move in 10 seconds or 20 seconds. You can save your time.
And
so, for example,
that makes a lot of sense.
For example, it's like something like this. Position is something like this. and then you don't have to read from the beginning to the end. So think like
that's
this. So imagine in your head, pretend that the stones are in the center. So that will save your time a little bit, just a little bit, but it helps.
That's a very interesting tip. So I think, as I understand it, if we have this shape in the lower left corner and we want to read out this ladder on the top right, we can, in our heads, we can actually just move it from the lower left up to the center now, because the ladder going all the way down will be exactly the same.
Right. So it's the same. If ladder is on the upper left side and the ladder breaker is on lower right side, lower right corner, then it's the same. Actually try to think the stones are in center, so it's easier to read and you can save some time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, everyone. That's a way that you can use now to read your ladders faster, and that will help me because I always read ladders incorrectly for some reason during my games.
Yeah. I've played a few matches that I misread ladder.
Oh, you've done it too.
Yeah, even professional players do that. And the second tip is also a simple one. So if you look at the board, there are two stones in lower side and lower left corner. So if there are the two stones on the start point, lower left corner and lower side, there's no ladder can break through these two these two stones. So for example, we just learned that when you read ladder, it's like stone is stone is here is exactly same exactly diagonal from the lower left corner. So and second tip is when there are two stones, two start point, then no ladder can break through this between two start point. For example, there is ladder on upper right corner, and we just learned that if there is a white stone on the lower left corner, it's exactly same as here. So for example, if white escaped from the ladder is not good for black, obviously. And if you see this ladder, if white plays this one, it's of course ladder is good for white because these stones. And I just want to mention that no ladder can break through break these two ladder breaker. So if there are two stones on start point, then 100% the ladder is good for white. So you don't have to read all the ladder variation. So unless there are other black stones near this start point, but if there are just two stones on start point, then ladder is good for white, 100%.
That's a good tip
no
too.
ladder can break.
So if you have a Sarense opening, that means you'll have all ladders going in that direction, right?
So yeah, this is also a simple tip, but also you can save some time. You don't have to read all the variation.
Right.
So I think it's useful when you actually play the game, and especially when you play quick game.
Right.
So you can save your time. That's my
Nice.
simple tip.
Thanks for that. And I think ladders are really important for us because remember when you play in a local variation, sometimes the only reason why that variation might be good for one side is because the ladder might work or not. And so ladders can be very critical for us when we decide which variations to play. And we will see that today in the two games that Mumu laoshi chose for us.
Yes.
But before moving on to that, I wanted to ask you a little bit, because since we're on the topic of ladders, and ladders are one of those famous shapes in which AIs cannot do to some degree. So, which is really interesting because ladders is probably the first one of the first capture techniques that we learn as when we get started in Go. But since we're on this topic, I wanted to ask you, because I think this is probably a very popular question for Go players, because AIs are they're so easy to use now. Anyone can download an open source AI on their laptop or desktop computer very easily. So I'm just wondering, do you have? I was wondering if you could give us some tips on how to learn for a regular player who wants to learn and improve with AI. Is it a good idea? And is there any tips to do that?
I think the best way to learn Go with AI is, I think it's better, or it's best that you have good teacher and tells you about why AI recommend these moves, and it's kind of difficult to understand by yourself, even for professional players. We don't really understand 100% why AI recommend these moves, because it's beyond our abilities and beyond our imagination. So I think it's best that you have good teacher who can explain to you why this work and why AIs recommend these kind of moves, and then you slowly understand each move's meaning and why AI is trying to play that way. Right. So I think it's better way to study with AI. Mm-hmm. And if you're learning learning Go with AI by yourself alone, I recommend you don't just follow or copy AI's move, because it's first of all, it's hard to understand for even professional players. So just try to understand as much as possible why AI recommend every move. So try to think by yourself and try to understand as much as possible. I think just copying it doesn't make your game better for any level, even for professional players. Some players just copying, some professional players just copying what AI recommend, then not thinking about why. I think most important thing you have to have in mind is why.
Yes.
Always have a question about AI's move.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that tip. I would most definitely agree, and I think that's what I've been trying to put out there whenever people ask me the question. Also, yes. Because learning Go is a lot about reasoning. If you don't understand the move, then you're just copying and you're just playing. And with so many variations after you just copy, then you don't know how to continue it. And so when you're reviewing the game, I think, I just wanted to add, because this is a topic that I always get asked a lot too, is that you should always think that, tell yourself that it's not important to know where your mistakes are, but why the mistakes were made. And so, Mumu laoshi said, it's the why. Always think why.
Right. And I'd like to add one more thing. A lot of young professional players in Korea, they study with AI, they practice with AI almost every day. And I keep, saying that same thing, just don't just try to copy, just think and try to make the idea, try to make your own idea. I mean,
Right.
so, and even before AI's presence, players tend to copy some strong players' opening or
Right.
moves, but not to think about why or is it really good or not. So they just copy strong players' opening or moves. But I think you have to have your own style. You have to play with your own philosophy, your own idea, not just copying someone else's game. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same with AI. I mean, even if AI recommend some moves, I think there's no meaning to you just copy it without understanding. So try to understand every moves and make it your own idea, your own
Yes.
moves. So I think that's really important. So why is important?
Mhm. Very nice tip. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's start with our first pro game, which is between Ju Hong Wook versus Ho Young Ho.
Okay, you might not really familiar with Korean names. It's kind of hard to pronounce.
Oh, it
I
took me a
understand
while
that.
to get the names correct.
And Ho Young-woo is quite a strong player. He still actively playing and quite a high level in Korea. And he was a runner-up of Samsung Cup 2009, I believe. And yeah, he was a top 5 player. I mean, about 10 years ago, and still actively playing. Anyway, it was one of juniors tournament back in 2003, I guess, around that time. And if you look at the board, there are 2 letter
Oh,
at the same time.
double trouble.
And right now, either letter is not good for white. Obviously, you can't just keep playing because there are black stones. There are many black stones. So, for example, if you want to play ladder breaker like here, and then escape the ladder, but it's still ladder is not for white. You can play it out actually. So ladder is good for black. So it's not a good idea for white. So what white did in actual game, white played here. And still, this ladder is also not good for white because there are many black stones on upper side. So of course, black played this one and says like, "What are you doing? It's a ladder." And white played here. It means, I white wants to escape one of ladder, and then that'll cause big damage for black. For example, if black captures these 3 stones, white will play this one, and because this ladder breaker, the ladder is good for white, and it'll cause a lot of damage on upper side for black.
So
I mean,
both
it's
ladders
huge.
would be very severe if white was
Yes.
able to escape.
So black has to find a way to solve this ladder problem, and Of course, if you capture this one stone, this one also will cause a lot of damage for black because this one's huge. So guess what? Next move is really interesting, and you have to make both leather as possible. Both leather is good for black. And actually, that one, this is what black played in actual game. So, for example, if black plays something here, still leather is good for white. So white can play this one. So you have to think something special.
So the top right ladder goes down towards, so it would go to J11, H11, and then H10, which means black would need a stone somewhere around G11 or H10, something like that, or maybe G10. It feels like G10 would be the only move then, because G10 would also continue the ladder going to the top right.
Correct. So, in actual game,
I would be very nervous to play this in an actual game, because if white keeps playing something like G11, I would be I'm not sure what to do then.
So yeah, you're correct. In actual game, black played here, which was only move that can make both letter is possible for black. So it can white can still or cannot still escape this letter, and here still if white plays here, it's still letter.
Right.
So white played here. Second question.
Oh.
So that means if you capture this one, white will play this one. Of course, it's leather, but it's perfect leather breaker. You can see the leather is good for white, of course.
Right.
So
let me guess, black attached again.
Where do you play?
Oh. K14 then.
K14. Correct. Again, that's exactly what black played in actual game.
Oh, but but it gets really nervous.
Only move that's both leather is possible for black. So if white plays here, it's still leather. And if white plays this side of leather, it's still leather. So what white did in actual game? White hane. And it started to confusing.
Yeah. So I would be worried that white might be benefiting too much from the middle, but because I think in order for black to keep protecting both ladders at the same time, black would need to have a lot of double Atari moves in the middle.
Yeah, but this ladder and both sides is too important for black. Black is tried to just avoid from the white escape from ladder. So white hane, and guess what's next move?
Hane again, then H11.
Yeah, and then again, and then this one is still leather, and of course this side is still leather. Good for black.
Yeah.
So when white played this one, black played Hane, and white played this one, and it became easy, since both sides is same variation. So black Hane again, still the both leather is good for black. So white cannot escape either side. So in actual game, white gave up, escape from leather. White just attacked and attacked this one. So black protected from the leather beautifully, but of course white gained something like this pawn key on the center. Mm-hmm. But black successfully protected from the leather. So if we go back in this situation, there's only one move, and this move is recommended by AI. I reviewed this game after few days ago. I'm sorry. So AI also recommend this move, and this is only move that can protect the leather from white. So that was a very interesting move and played by professional player in professionals game. So it wasn't that famous matches, but when I introduced this game to recreational players, they enjoyed it a lot.
It's really interesting, yeah. The double ladder. But I wonder if is there no way for white to have a better ladder breaker? Is that the best?
I don't know. Let's see. There's something like this. But yeah, black can also play something like this, and still it's leather.
So it's
yeah,
the same,
let's
no matter what.
Right. So maybe there's better way for white, but I couldn't find them.
Probably there isn't then.
Yeah. So something like this and this is very not a common moves, but it worked perfectly.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, and black won this game at the end.
Oh, and I think it's really fun because this would be it's very easy to understand. It's not like some super complicated fight, but it's also very it's very obvious when you see it on the board that both ladders clash. Yeah, I really enjoyed looking at this.
You don't have to read complicated variation. You don't have to read that. You just have to read letters.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's move on to second game.
This game has got to be one of the most famous matches that has ladders in it. And this game was between Lee Se-dol, who is black, versus Hong
Jang-sik.
So,
yeah. He's now retired, but he left this legendary game between Lee Se-dol. So he's famous for this game.
Yeah, and Mumu laoshi, you know a lot about Lee Se-dol, and I've seen so many of your games together. So maybe I could ask you a little bit about Lee Se-dol as the player.
Sure, of course.
So, what is he? How is he like? I mean, we all saw Lee Sedol in the AlphaGo interview. I think that was one of the biggest moments for many professional players as well. Just seeing Lee Sedol up there as the human hero, winning the only game against AlphaGo.
Right. It was amazing, and Lee Sedol is quite a how do I say? He has strong character, and when he plays a match, you can tell his charisma, and he has some aura. I mean, you can tell his winning spirit, fighting spirit.
Yeah, you mentioned last time when we talked about. Players that Lee Sedol had a very special kind of mentality when he went into the game.
You can tell he's trying so hard to win every match. He always gives his 100%, and so he how do I say? There are two players. When I actually play, there were two players that I feel big charisma and big aura. One is Cho Chi-hoon, one is Lee Sedol. And when I played against Cho Chi-hoon, I was how do I say, mesmerized by his when even before we played a match, I was already he was so huge. He looks so huge, just sitting there and closed his eyes. He looks so huge, and it was it was first time I felt that way. And about Lee Sedol, he's always focusing on the game, and when you play against him, I can feel his desire to win every single time, and every moment. So yeah, he's that kind of player, and of course his game is very unique and strong, and I think one of the reasons he decided to retire is that he couldn't just adapt or adjust to the AI's game, because it's so different from the game our generation played. I'm 3 years older than him, and Lee Sedol, and include myself and Lee Chang-ho, we had a hard time to adapt to the new games, new style. So Lee Sedol, he said that it's difficult to study from the beginning, because the all knowledge we had already had is wrong. I mean, according to AI. So it was kind of hard to accept. Then actually Lee Sedol's game was very unique. So he's good at pick a fight and play differently, play unique game. But when he was the top of the world, people will think, oh, this is Lee Sedol's move, and this must be a great move or excellent move. But after AI's presence, people will think, this move will drop 20%, something like that. So players don't afraid him anymore. So that made him difficult, in difficult position. So he said that something like, it's difficult to adjust new style of game. So that's one of the reasons he decided to retire. And of course, he bought really expensive AI computer later. Maybe 2009, summer of 2009, but soon he decided to retire from Go community, which was sad because everyone loves his game, and include a lot of professionals miss his games and miss him. Obviously. So many people wishes that he can come back one day and play again.
He will definitely be missed. Yeah, and I think it's such a sad thing to hear when you said that, including yourself and Lisa Do and Lee Chang Ho, like it's hard to adapt to the new AI style. And personally, like as someone who really loves to watch like top professionals play, I think that the older style was just so much more fun to watch.
Right.
Now with the newer, younger pros, and they're obviously also super strong, but their games are just they're just not as fun. You know, they have similar moves, they have similar openings. It's just double star point, 3-3 invasions all the time. It's just so sad
who memorize AI's variation better.
Yeah, in the beginning,
about character. It's not about your philosophy. It's about memorizing.
Right. In the beginning, it's almost that who can memorize more moves to drop less percentages. Right.
But of course, AI showed us a lot of interesting moves and new intuition, and I admit it. But as a old generation, I'm sad. I call myself old generation, but I think the 80s or 90s game was more fun to watch, and they had characters. They had their own characters. I mean, if you see the top players in 80s or 90s, they all had their own nickname and their own styles, like cosmic style or
right.
You know, like Lee Chang-ho, Jo Hoon-yeon, or Cho Chi-hoon, Takemiya. They had all their own character and their own style, but it's really hard to find these days.
Yeah, and I personally learned a lot from the games from the 80s and 90s, and I can definitely relate. But now we just see very similar styles, and there's nothing too special going on.
Right.
And I think the main thing is that they're really hard to understand now, and we just it's just really just a fight of percentages almost.
Right.
And no character. Yeah.
So that's I mean, there's a good point. I mean, after AI, the overall level of professional player were increased. Of course, they became strong, and we learned a lot from AI. We train every day with AI, so a level was, the overall level were improved a lot, I think. But it's kind of sad that it's difficult to find character. So,
which is why I'm so glad that we're doing this series, because we're presenting to everyone, and we have of course you, who was one of the strongest players in the world back at that time, and even now, like telling us about these these really awesome moments that we should look back on and memorize and appreciate.
Mm-hmm. And let's just jump into the game. And this game in this game, Lee Sedol played with black, and there's a ladder here. So at the first glance, ladder is good for white because there's a white stone here on the center. So white played this one, which wasn't a good idea, and which made this game, classic, I guess. So actually, I reviewed this game with AI a few days ago, and you already told me that AI.
I also looked at that, but I used a relatively weaker. I used a little zero on my laptop, so it was a relatively low amount of playouts as well. But the AIs wanted to play this E13 move, which is what White played. So I think before White played that move, the AI still thought that this escaping here was a good move.
Right. So some AI recommend just play here, not.
Yes. So maybe we'll put up some screenshots of what we mean right now on the screen, so you guys can see the AI recommended moves. And then so the AIs couldn't see the variation Lee Sedol is about to show us.
Mm-hmm.
So
and in actual game, Lee Sedol played this one even if leather looks good for White. He played this one and even Atari one more time. And still, leather is good for White until now, but
so
he played this.
I wonder what Hong was thinking then. I mean, Lee Sedol was not very famous back then, I believe. Or was he already?
He was young, strong and young player, and he already won the world championship once or twice.
Okay.
So he's quite strong.
Oh, okay. So he was already no.
So he played this wedge. I mean, this. Lower right corner was White's territory because White captured these few black stones. So this one is Sente. If Black plays something like this, and Black can play this one. So yeah, we can play it out. Of course, it's impossible to White play like this, but Atari.
Oh.
So when Black played the wedge, White only can escape from this side, and then there is, the ladder begins.
But the ladder does it work? It doesn't work.
Still, this ladder is not good for Black still. But what was Lee Sedol think? Was just keep playing ladder. You can see the ladder is still good for White because you cannot Atari from this side. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And in the actual game, he played this Atari and this. Still, ladder itself is good for White always. You cannot Atari because White captures first. So, why did he do that? Because of these 5 stones were so important. Mm-hmm. If you look at the lower right side, White captured these 8 stones and made about 18 points. And next move, Black captured these 5 stones. But not only these 5 stones, whole White's group died. That means locally there was White had about 18 points, something like that. And now, how many stones there? 13, 17, 21 white stone died. So it's like I don't know, 70 or 80% differences. So
an
that
80-point move
was huge.
That move.
And actually, many people just watched this game till this point and thought, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And what Black did was amazing. And actually, many people don't know what happened in the actual game. Do you know?
Yeah.
Actually, okay, I'll show you a few more moves. So Black captured this one, and only White can do is make as many territory on left side as possible. And what Lee Sedol did from here, I mean, he did not only live inside White's influence, but if you look, if you see end of the game, I'll just move it to the last move. So if you look at the last moment of the game, he did not only live inside the White's influence, he even killed White's group. And he even made this big, territory on the right upper side. So no mercy. So he won like more than 100 points. So yeah, people just saw that leather variation, but a lot of people don't know about what happened last. So of course this leather variation is already legendary and one of the greatest game about leather. So it's always enjoyable to watch again and again, because it's very rare case that you played that many leather even if it's not working. So yeah, it's a very fun game.
Yeah,
legendary.
Just leaving so many double Ataris there
right.
to gain in the lower right corner. Yeah, but that was an 80-point benefit for Black in the lower right corner, yes. And so White probably couldn't. I assume White couldn't gain as much as 80 points from all the middle double Atari. Yeah, wow. But also, it's interesting that you point that out, that this lower left fight. So for those of you who are watching, and I definitely you should check out how Lee Sedol handled this fight in this lower left corner. Completely killed White.
White tried so hard to kill this group, Black's group on left side, and then Lee Sedol was trying to leave, and then at last, okay, I'm just gonna kill you instead of living inside. So yeah, that's Lee Sedol's character. He just he's not just trying to win the game. He tries to how do I say destroy your will. He
demoralizes the opponent.
He's prepared for the next game.
Right.
Next game between you and your opponent.
It's that mental game again. He's trying to put fear in the opponent for the next game, and he demoralizes you, so that next time you play him, you'll be scared.
Right.
I wonder if you have you talked with Lee Sedol about this game? How did he feel after the game, or how did his opponent feel? Maybe that's the more interesting question.
I don't know. I've never talked with Lee Sedol about this game, and neither with his opponent.
Did the two players ever play again?
I'm sorry?
Did these two ever play again after this game?
Maybe this was the last game they played against each other. They played. I checked the head-to-head Lee Sedol versus Hong, and they played 5 times, and Lee Sedol won 4 times. And I remember Lee Sedol lost 1 game by simple mistake at the end, and maybe he was upset about that, and that's why he played played so crucial. Crucial game.
It's so interesting how the psychological battle happens, and that's maybe something that we can elaborate a little more on if we have time for future episodes as well.
Of course.
Because it's coming up again and again, and it seems like a big part of the of high professional play.
Yeah, so especially when you play, like Lee Sedol was, of course, at the top of the game, and every time he play against some new player or strong player, you know, he always think about next game. In my guess, in my opinion, so he's not just trying to win the game itself. He's trying to, give you an image that you're never going to, beat me, something like that. So that's charisma. That's aura. So that makes your opponent intimidated, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for commentating once again, and these are very interesting. It's also a very interesting topic, and our second video here should be much easier to follow now, because we're kind of just going through this ladder technique, and you can see how players can. Well, in the first game, where the players defended the ladder using very cool tsuji, and in this game, Lee Sedol was able to use a ladder in a much counterintuitive way, much different way than we usually would.
Yes, I had a good time because it's always fun to review or see this game again. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy, give us a like, and we will catch you in the next video.